Welcome to Cousin Sal's winning weekend. All right, settle down, settle down. We need a golf clap today because we've got the voice of the Masters as well as the best the NFL has to offer. Our first ballot Hall of Fame guest from CBS Sports, Jim Nantz, will be here. He's got some incredible broadcasting stories and will tell us what it was like calling the Chiefs-Bills showdown last week and whether or not he, if given the chance, would jump through a table Bills Mafia style. Speaking of party crashers, Brother Bry is here to help us break down all the Week 12 games, including a new installment of the Harbaugh Bowl, as Jim and John go headset to headset on Monday night. But right now, let's get to my irrationally angry attempt to make rational sense of a somewhat irrational bet. It's Wager Rage. All right, this one seems pretty safe. You know, last week, the Parlay Kid struck golf gold on this very program when he took the Lions to score over 3.5 touchdowns. And that bet hit before like the fourth Sky Rizzy commercial. Anyway, there's no reason not to bounce back with that one. Detroit, 4 touchdowns or more right there on FanDuel Sportsbook. Detroit has put up ridiculously monstrous Motor City numbers. 52 against the Jags, 47 against the Cowboys, 42 against the Seattle Seahawks. No one's done this much scoring since DiCaprio in the mid-90s. Dan Campbell promised they'd be biting kneecaps, but now they are eating the rest of the bodies too. It's like a NFL all-you-can-eat buffet. So bon appetit and take the Lions over 3.5 touchdowns against the Colts' 28th ranked defense. Now it's time for my one shining moment. Let's get to our interview with sportscasting legend Jim Nantz.
Fakes left, now taken off, gonna run for it, he got it, and there he goes, inside the 10, the 5, the play of the year in the NFL.
All right, let's bring in our guest. He's been on the call for CBS Sports for over 3 decades at the Final Four, the Masters, the Super Bowl. I'm pretty sure he even narrated an episode of Young Sheldon. We've spent so much time listening to him over the years that I really do consider him one of my very best friends in the whole wide world. The great Jim Nantz is here.
Well, that is so nice of you to say. You know, I've been speaking to you for a long time on the air. When I say hello, friends, that has been directed right at you. So it's great to be on this show. You knew it. I was channeling you the whole time.
I had a feeling no one believed me, but great. Now we have proof of it. So much I want to get to with you, but let's talk about this season. Let's start off, and particularly that game last Sunday in Buffalo. It felt like a playoff atmosphere. I'm sure you would agree you were there. And you made a great call on the Josh Allen 4th down touchdown run. It was 4th and 2. They could have kicked a field goal. We all know Patrick Mahomes was probably going to come back and score and win the game, but they went for it. And you labeled this the play of the year in the NFL. And I think you're right. I think you've taken some backlash to it, but my God, of course it was a play of the year.
Well, every Commanders fan probably had something to say about that. And then, of course, every Kansas City fan had something to say about it. So you got to toss all that nonsense aside. I mean, I've been hearing nothing but great remarks about it. But in the moment, here's the thing. You set it up well. There just wasn't enough time to really think about how big that call and that play and that moment was. You got a team that has potentially an undefeated season. Their schedule looked very favorable after this game and could very easily say be 14-0. Now it's really out there in all of our space about the Chiefs trying to do something we haven't seen since 72 with the Dolphins. And they're going for the three-peat. And you've got the Bills, who this is always their nemesis. And if you kick it and you're up 5, you know Patrick's going to go right down the field and win it with a touchdown. If you fail to pick it up and you go for it, you roll the dice and you lose, you're just going to never hear the end of it. But I just thought the play was gigantic. And the interesting thing was I qualified it too shortly after. You know, I said it right on the spot. I mean, he looked like a pinball running toward the end zone, just bouncing off people. He's just impossible to bring down. I did the other game that's the possible play of the year. I called Jaden Daniels' Hail Mary. So if I had said that, someone else had called that game, it might have been a little bit tawdry. Oh, you want your play to be the play of the year. Wait a minute. I was there for both of them. So I have the context, and clearly this was the most significant play of the two. The other one was more exciting, more thrilling. Honored to have been there for it and call it. But this truly was a game that changed the way we look at the rest of the regular season. Thinking about the game just today, the number of things that dropped into that broadcast from efforting it that were stories that we got to tell together. Kareem Hunt telling us that the day after Pacheco went down with injury early in the season, he texted Mahomes, he texted Andy Reid and let them know, I want to come back. You know, his heart belonged in Kansas City, where his career started, where he led the league in rushing as a rookie. I'm ready to go. I can help you guys. And they both texted him back, and he was in the building within a day. He's been a big part of their success this season. Leo Chanel, who was in our meeting, made a big block on the field goal attempt against Denver the week before. Just little nuggets to personalize them and that Tony and I can tell together. Those are the winning little moments. Guy at home probably doesn't feel it. They don't understand it. But yeah, you're building up all week long for a 3-hour broadcast, and the storytelling in the end. The game speaks for itself, and how we can cover it to make it a little more interesting. And Tony is the best. I mean, Tony can break down a game like no one. So it's been a wonderful year.
You know, it's as you're explaining this to me, I'm thinking about it like you are creating a script. You're creating like a 3-hour script, and like maybe there's no answer to this, but at what point do you feel comfortable, like that Kareem Hunt nugget, right? Would you do when you go into a game? You're like, I have to have 10 of those, or I have to have 7 of those, or like, are you nervous that you're shorthanded if you only have like 2 of those? Where do you stand?
No, there's always a million directions you could go. There's never a list of, I've got to get this one. Maybe there's 1 or 2 that we really want to go down that path and do it in concert with the truck and some great specialty graphics perhaps they built. But the Kareem thing, he didn't have monster stats in that game at Buffalo. And a lot of them were just, 3-yard runs up the middle. I love the way he runs, by the way. I mean, the guy reminds me so much, and I'll use that. Marshawn Lynch, who had started his career in Buffalo as a first-round pick moons ago. How his running style was like Marion Barber of the Cowboys of yesteryear. All of this came out of a meeting and efforting it. And Tony and I were there asking these questions that come to life. I love the way you said that, by the way. It is. It's almost like a little script behind the scenes. And the rest of it is watch and observe and tell people what you see on the fly.
Of course. And then it's a domino effect too, right? If that game goes differently, Kansas City, Pittsburgh on Christmas doesn't mean as much, right? So you could look at the whole rest of the month. So, but I did want to ask you, you had the whole CBS studio crew there, JJ Watt, Matt Ryan, Nate Burleson, even Coach Cowher jumped through a folding table there in Buffalo. Is there any way they would have convinced you to do that?
I would have done it. I truly would have done it.
Really?
Someone would have asked.
Oh.
I mean, yeah. I don't know what exactly they had at the base of that for a soft landing. There had to be something there because I'm watching Coach Cowher just plow through that and land right on his tailbone, and he was fine. Maybe there'll be a chance at another time, but yeah, something like that would have been kind of fun.
I'm going to write that down. I mean, if all they have to do is ask, that's great.
They did.
So
that's all
you talked about the AFC East, and everybody's trying to knock Buffalo off their pedestal, whether it's in August or even October. Now the Jets were predicted to be that team. I think they were projected to have 10 wins this year. Could you ever have imagined that it was going to be such a disaster of a year for them? And you could say yes if you want.
There actually is a little side of me that thought it could be because I hate hype. I'm not the guy that likes to live in the world of hyperbole. And it just seems like to me, anytime there's something new and exciting happening with any one of the New York teams, listen, I was raised in New Jersey, so I understand about New York bias. I get it. I lived all over the country, but my real formative years were in Colts Neck, New Jersey. So I get it. But hey, if the media really wants to, I'm talking the sports media. Again, we're over here in the candy store end of the world. If they really want to be truthful about it, they do think that everybody cares about their teams more than any other part of the country. They really think everybody's in on the Jets. I hate to tell them, it's a big world out there. No one cares. Okay. That's the truth. I live in Nashville and I live part-time in Pebble Beach, California. Nobody's talking about the Jets. 365. So quit shoving this stuff down my throat that they're going to win the division. Let's go see it on the field first. I didn't know it'd be this far off the cliff, but it has been. It's been just a nightmare for the Jet faithful.
I want to dispel this myth. I think a lot of people think you and Tony just show up on Sunday and that's it. You guys put a ton of work into this, right? You're flying all over the place. You have meetings. One of the things that intrigues me is I believe every Friday you sit with the coaches that are the coaches for the teams that are playing on Sunday, the game you're calling, right? Which coach that you've met with and interviewed is the most entertaining, would you say?
Well, there's a lot. First off, there's a number of coaches that are entertaining. Mike Tomlin, I wouldn't say he's entertaining, but he's enlightening. He has such a great form of expression. The way he describes the way he's going to game plan for Sunday, the guy will be, if he ever wants to go down that road as an analyst, he would be the natural. He would be great. And there are a lot of them that really are entertaining. I've got Dan Campbell coming up next week. We've got the Lions on Thanksgiving Day. And I'm looking forward to that. We don't get to see the Lions all that often. All of a sudden, lo and behold, we got them on Thanksgiving Day. And we have them against Buffalo in December. Now, it's going to be a monster game, December 15th.
Now, some games you don't have to be there for. And I always wondered this. Players have teams, on their no trade clause list. Do you have a team on your no call list? Like if they tell you you're heading to Cleveland to do Jaguars Browns, are you like, no, I'm out. I'm skipping this one.
I've never done that. It's a great question. We have a week coming up on December the 8th. There's not a lot of options. You mentioned Cleveland. Our crew's going to do Cleveland at Pittsburgh. It's a rivalry game, even though it's been pretty one-sided for the most part in history. But you got the Pittsburgh side. We'll build it up and find the storylines for that game. But I have it more the other way. I have places I want to go, not places I don't want to go. I actually like going to all of them. And I think that Tony now in his first 7 years has done a game in every building now. I think he has. There might be one exception, maybe a Seattle. No, I think we did a Seattle game out there for him. But there's places I want to go. And where I'd really like to go would be right in Nashville, Tennessee. So I could just get in my car. And first off, what I'd really like to do, and everybody that I work with knows I would do this because I have history with doing this, particularly for the golf part of my life, the golf crew. When we have an event at my favorite spot on earth at Pebble Beach, we're going to throw a party. And I haven't had a chance since I moved here in August of 21. I've never had a Titans home game. I have the champagne is still on ice, waiting to bring all the above. Tony, Tracy, we haven't talked about how great Tracy is, which she is, and all of our production people, bring them to the house and blow it out. And then, on Sunday, be able to get in my car and drive to work and drive home. So come on, Titans, let's go. I believe in Brian Callahan. I know this is like way off the grid for you right now. But I'm hoping that as this city turns its page into a whole new phase with a dome stadium in a couple of years under construction now, there's going to be more attention drawn to this great part of the country.
Well, listen, they should at least, back to your original point, get as much coverage as the Jets this year. I'm with you on that. Why the hell not? What's the difference?
Well, they're basically, the records are about the same.
There you go. Close. That's what I'm saying. So let's do this. Let's take a quick break, and we'll be back with the great Jim Nantz. All right, welcome back to Cousin Sal's Winning Weekend. We're joined by 5-time National Sportscaster of the Year, member of the Broadcasting Hall of Fame, and the man who replaced me as Tony Romo's BFF, Jim Nantz. What's that? Jim, you and Tony have been together a while now. It doesn't seem like it, but you're embarking on your 20th year together. No, it's the 8th year. But is there anything? I know he likes practical jokes and likes doing stupid things on the road. Like he'll hold up a phone of a video of his wife waving, and he'll pretend that you're on FaceTime with her. But like that's one of his jokes. Has he pulled some practical jokes on you, or vice versa?
Tony is a big kid. I'll give you a funny one though. You're looking for some hijinks. So early in his career, there's a ton. First off, but I'm thinking of a young Tony. So it's a Thanksgiving Day game, and someone asked the question, "What's Thanksgiving mean to you?" And he said, Well, this is going to be a very special one for me. I'm having a new friend come to town for this game. Oh, really? Well, who is it? Um, I can't tell you. But yes, I've got a friend coming to town. Well, obviously we knew it was some new girlfriend or something. So then he walks out of the production meeting, and I've got my notes on a table and everything. And he walks and he grabs one of my pens. He writes down on my board, which my board is sacred. Don't write on my board. I labor over that all week long, color coded, all this. He writes JS. Well, if it was 2024, I would have guessed Jordan Spieth. But at the time, I'm like, JS? Who in the hell is JS? Ended up being Jessica Simpson. But he just left. He wouldn't tell me. You remember they were a couple for a while. But it's just the only guy in the league that would kind of playfully have some fun and have that attitude. Like, can you believe I'm actually gonna have Jessica Simpson in my suite watching the game? He's just a wonderful guy, wonderful family guy, by the way.
I agree. By the way, first of all, when you first told me he wrote down JS, I thought maybe it was Jill Stein, the third party candidate.
Ran for president. Yeah.
Yes, I don't know, but I was like, wow, you're breaking news here. But yeah, you're right, and I have talked to him about that. Like, does he have an internal clock where, okay, I've now called too many plays in a row, or I've now attempted to call too many plays in a row, I'm going to lay back a little bit? He skirted the question, but I feel like he does. He's like smart enough to know what's too much and what's not enough.
His instincts.
Yes.
And what he sees all the way around. He had one in the game the other day in the Kansas City Buffalo game. And I made a point that the Bills' right tackle, who was a fill-in for the starter, Spencer Brown was out with an ankle. And so far, I'm watching the game as a novice in terms of football knowledge compared to my man. But he's lined up a lot of the times against Karlaftis, and on that side is Chris Jones. They hadn't touched Josh Allen to this point in the game. So they ran it that way, just an ordinary 4-yard plunge. And I said, hey, on that right side, let's not forget that, we got a new right tackle in here today for the Bills. And so far, he's done a pretty good job. He goes, you know what? 2 plays ago, he blocked the wrong guy. He is somehow able to process what 22 people on the field are doing in a play that lasts 3 seconds, and he sees it all.
But I will say, I mean, he has so many annoying quirks. Which stands out to you the most?
What would that be? Like in any marriage, there's little things.
Sure.
There's nothing gigantic here. No, I can't.
Oh.
I'm thinking away. Nothing in the broadcast booth. We have drivers. One's assigned to, Corey is assigned to Tony. I got my great friend Bryce, but Tony likes to go behind the wheel. Now, it's not a quirk, but he says, Corey, let me take this and I'll get us to the airport. And man, I see him like riding off of shoulders and weaving in and out of traffic. And it's pretty compact and a lot of people in a finite amount of space with police escort. And you've just done a game. Now it's time to unwind, but he's on go. He's
it's like a video game, right? Like getting from A to B with him. Yeah.
He's you know him well, Sal.
His father is a much more reckless driver, if it helps, if that is any consolation. Yes.
Romero. Yeah. No, Tony has great confidence in his golf ability. I don't know that would be a quirk, but he had some exemptions onto the PGA Tour, where he's been invited to play in the Byron Nelson, a tournament down in the islands, at Napa. And I applaud him for this. But early in his career, there was a weekend we were going to have a doubleheader game. And it was Minnesota at Chicago, like week 4. And he went to CBS to ask that if he made the cut, could he take off week 4? Because he's got this great chance to play in a tour event. And Sean McManus green-lighted it. So the week before, we're in Philadelphia, and Tony's talking about how ready he is to play in his tournament. CBS has now as the backup plan, Boomer's going to come out of the studio if needed. And on Saturday morning, he's flying to Chicago. And Tony says, I got a problem. I said, what is it? He said, I'm playing the tournament next week. I said, you got the yips? What's going on? He said, no, nothing like that. It's the opposite. He said, I'm playing so well right now that I actually think I'm going to finish in the top 10, which is, Jim, that will put me into the following week's tournament. Top 10 get exempt for the next tournament.
Right.
Now, what do I do? Where are we week 5? I mean, I'm going to have to ride that. And what do I do with Sean? I said, Tony, let's just go make the cut first. Let's not worry about the top 10. He said, even one other thing. Call me crazy, Jimmy, but if I win next week, I get the 2-year exemption on the PGA Tour.
Great.
So that's confident. That is Tony Sal. I know how close you guys are. So I said, just go make the cut. He missed the cut and he did the game. He was there at Soldier Field. Yeah.
Well, I have one more question to ask you, but an addendum to what you said. He was with that confidence in golf. He convinced me and my cousin Jimmy to bet him in this Punta Nesca tournament in Mexico, right? Yes.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm going to win this thing. And I'm like 250 to 1 odds. And so, of course, we're all over it. And not only doesn't he win, but he comes in very last place. And we came and we made a nice trophy for him. It says last place, whatever it was, 2007 or whatever it was. So I don't know that his tournament.
He finished like 17 over and missed the cut by about 25 shots.
That was it.
But same thing. He thought he was going to win.
All right, Jim, we've got one more question for you. We call this Cousins Conundrum.
Cousins Conundrum.
All right.
Yeah.
This has never been asked of you before. I'm almost positive of it. All right. You get a master's exemption for the rest of your life. Okay. You go from calling Augusta to playing in it. And you can even pick the other 2 players in your opening round groups. Rest of your life. But in return, one Sunday every month, you wake up with laryngitis. Do you take the deal?
No.
Really?
First off, I would play with Freddie Couples, who I played a lot of golf, particularly early in the year when we were rooming together down at Houston in the same dorm suite with my buddies Blaine and John and our whole group. And of course, he went on to a Hall of Fame career. But I have the dream job at Augusta. Playing in it, in my weird way of thinking, would not be as fulfilling as being a voice for that tournament and blending my voice with that beautiful, soft Augusta melody. It's a dream for me. This is exactly what I wanted to do since I was 11 years old. That job, that was it. That drove me. It was an obsession for me. I've told the story many times. It's not good copy. It's real. It was burning in my heart. I have all that I could ever want at Augusta by sitting above that 18th and down at Butler Cabin and welcoming a worldwide audience to a tradition unlike any other, the Masters on CBS.
Did it.
All that's missing here is the melody. That's a shame. A shame I didn't have it all queued up for you. But
we will add it in post-production. Don't worry about that. All right. That's a good answer. I would have liked to have seen you call like Bills Chiefs with laryngitis, but it's fine.
I've done that. I've done games before with laryngitis, but it wasn't in football. Thank heavens. And now that you've hexed me, I don't know which game I'm going to have to miss in December or in the coming weeks.
No.
It happened in a college basketball game for me several years ago. I was working with Billy Packer for years.
Yeah.
We were doing it in UCLA, ranked number 1 against Stanford, top 5 at Maples Pavilion. And I had no voice, and Billy had to call the entire game.
The good news is a lot of the great college basketball announcers sound like they have laryngitis to begin with. So you fit right in there.
Yeah, that strain in the voice. Yes, whatever
exactly.
it might be. Yes.
Jim, I can't thank you enough for being here. Have a great rest of the season. Please tell Tony I said hello and that he's not that as good at golf as he says.
I think we've brought that to light for the world here today with each of us having the same story to tell from different tournaments. You're great, man. I got to sit with you years ago.
Yes.
Out in LA at Craig's.
Right.
That was magic. And I appreciate you having me on. I really do.
We'll be right back with Brother Bry to break down all the Week 12 NFL games on Cousin Sal's Winning Weekend. Thanks, Jim.
Cousin Sal's Winning Weekend. Let's keep things going with a lean, mean betting machine from the Against All Odds podcast. Brother Bry Sicoli, what's happening, Bry?
What's going on, buddy?
Bry, we just had the great Jim Nantz on. What a broadcasting career he's had. And of the events he's been at, I wanted to ask you, which would you like to be a participant in during a Jim Nantz call? Would you like to hit a half-court shot to win the NCAA tournament? Would you like a chip from the sand on 18 to win the Masters? Or would you want to catch a Hail Mary to win the Super Bowl?
Ooh, that's a tough one. But with Nantz making the call, Sal, I will say a half-court shot in the NCAA tournament. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. What about with Jason Garrett making the call? Would you change that? No. Wow, a half-court shot. That's pretty great. All right.
Yeah, I just feel like with college basketball, there's something there with his voice that I just absolutely love.
That's nice. Well, we're going to check if you have eligibility at Stony Brook, and maybe we can make this happen. This would be great. Let's get to the Week 12 slate and start in the NFC North. 8-2 Vikings travel to the Windy City, take on the Bears, who have lost 4 straight. Minnesota 3.5-point favorite. 39.5 is the over-under. I have to start off with a losing team because that's what I do, and I'm taking the Bears plus the points. Their season went in a tailspin after that Hail Mary went against them in Washington, and then they had a kick blocked, and we talked about this on Against All Odds for about 6 or 7 hours, whether or not they could have changed the trajectory had they gained yards. Harry has a whole theory how they should have thrown to the tight end to get closer. I don't know. We could move past it, but this is a phenomenal stat, Bry. And I told you this the other day. Caleb Williams has been stuck on 9 touchdowns and 5 interceptions for 5 weeks. That's insane. Like, that's 1930s football. I don't know how it's happening. But he did look better last week, at least against Green Bay. This is the Vikings' 3rd game in a row on the road. They haven't been particularly dominating in the last 2. I think they're primed for an upset. Chicago 8-1 against the spread in its last 9 home games. I'm going with the Bears here. Sadly, one of my best bets, taking the Bears plus the points. I think they actually pull it out 22-17. Which way are you going?
So I like the Bears too. I like what you're doing here, but I'm going to take a player prop and I'm going to go Aaron Jones over 63.5 rushing yards. And while the Bears defense has been pretty good overall, right? They are a bottom 10 team against the run this season. They're actually bottom 5 over the last 3 games. You saw Jacobs go for over 70 last week, Stevenson 70 the week before, Connor 100 the week before that. So the main running backs seem to play really well against this Bears defense. So I think Vikings would be smart to run the ball a lot in this game. So I'm going to go with Aaron Jones over 63.5 rushing yards.
All right, Brian, let's do another game. Tampa Bay at the New York Giants, 5.5-point favorite, 41.5 on the road. This line was a little soft earlier in the week. It's back up to where I think it should be. It could even be a little higher. I like this Bucs team to make a run. I bet them at plus 400 to win the NFC South. I'm so mad at myself that I did bite on an NFC South bet, but I think they're fun. Their schedule is pretty light the rest of the way. They got Mike Evans back, I think, this week. He should be back, and they face Tommy Cutlets. Tommy DeVito is there. I think Tampa gets it done. I know there might be some weather, but they'll score. They can't afford to lose a game like this. Rashad White and Bucky the Duck Irving have big games against the 29th ranked run defense. Giants 0-5 against the spread in their last 5 games. Give me Tampa minus the points, 26-17. What do you have?
Yeah, I like Tampa in this game too, Sal, but I'm going to take the over 41.5. Tampa's 7-3 on the over so far this season. Giants just 3-7. But the reason I like this is the Bucs are giving up 31 points per game over their last 6 games, and Tampa themselves, they're 5th in the NFL in points per game here. So like you said, they get Evans back, which is going to give them a spark. And maybe the Giants maybe for one game, there's a little bit of magic with Tommy Cutlets. They finally got the offense going a little bit. So I'm going to go over the 41.5, which seems like a pretty low number with Tampa in it.
Magic Cutlets. That sounds delicious. All right, let's do another game. Miami, home against New England, -7 and 46.5. Yes, I have to get my losing teaser out of the way, and it's going to be Miami -1 and over 40.5. I'm using the 6 points to knock the spread down and the over-under down. Dolphins beat the Pats 15-10 about a month ago. Both teams are better, I would say, since Dolphins 4-6, trying to claw their way to that 7th seed. They're scoring 3 of the last 4 games have gone over 50 total, so I like that on the teaser. And Tua's won 72% of his games he started against sub-500 teams. So good news for the Dolphins there. I think Drake May is good enough to put up a fourth-quarter touchdown, put that total over on a teaser. Meaningless. Miami wins. Taking the teaser so I don't have to worry about the backdoor cover. 27-22, somewhere in there. I like the Dolphins -1 and the over on a teaser.
Yeah, I like that, Sal. I'm going to go with Tyreek Hill, though, over 64.5 receiving yards. And while Hill, right, he's dealing with this wrist injury, he's finally starting to look somewhat like himself since Tua's been back. He has scored a touchdown in 2 straight. Now, I'm still waiting for that monster game, and I think it's coming soon. It could be this one, right? And in his last 2 games against the Patriots, he's averaging over 100 yards per game. We saw Puka Nacua last week. We saw Kupp have really big games against the Pats. So I think it's Tyreek's turn. Over 64.5, I'd maybe play some adjusted lines. Maybe he breaks out over 80, maybe over 100 this week. So let's go with Tyreek.
He's got already. This is crazy. Or comparing him to like Jonnu Smith, who's had much better numbers over the last month. It's just insanity, fantasy-wise. All right, Houston and Tennessee. Houston is at home. They're a 7.5-point favorite, 40.5 against Tennessee. We talked about this on Against All Odds a little. Tennessee is having like a miraculous season, right? They're number 2 in overall defense. They're number 1 in pass defense, and yet their quarterback is so miserable that they're 2-8 and then 1-9 against the spread. And I just don't want to touch him because I don't like the way Texans have looked either. You know, even against the Cowboys, that score doesn't indicate what they would have done against a regular team that belongs in the NFL. So I'm going to adjust the under to 34.5. You get plus 220 on this. Not impressed, like I said, with CJ Stroud lately, also coming off a short week. Here's the Titans' resume. 36 total points against the Vikings, 37 versus the Pats, 37 against the Colts. They're right in that range there for this adjusted under to hit. I could see 20-14, and then I'm sticking with that key number of 34. Still good enough to win. Give me at plus 220 under 34.5 adjusted. What do you have? All
right, I'm going to another player prop for me, Sal, and this may seem like a weird one, but I'm going to go with Westbrook-Ikhine anytime touchdown at plus 360. Now, this is a guy, right? And I know it's like, who is this guy, right? And he's never been a guy more than a third, probably more a fourth receiver, but he's had a few bright spots for this team recently. He's probably one of the few, right? He went for 117 yards against Minnesota because he had that 98-yard touchdown. But if you're getting plus 360 for a guy who has scored a touchdown in 5 of his last 6 games.
Yeah,
I would say that's pretty good value there. And again, a very weird one. I was actually surprised when I started looking into it a little bit because he really only has like 250 yards, but 5 touchdowns the last 6 games. I like it at plus 360. So.
All right. You know, they interviewed Levis yesterday, and he actually, to his credit, he was funny. They asked him if he's improving, and he's like, well, I'm not throwing any backward passes or bounce passes, basketball passes, so that's good for him. Good job by him. Washington, 10.5. Oh, boy. 44.5 is the over-under against Dallas. I laughed when I saw earlier in the week that Washington was 7.5. I was like, no one should be single digits against this team, especially at home. I get it. It's a division game, and the Cowboys should be getting up for this. But between a now soft defense, let's face it, and a weekly failed fake punt attempt, it's a quarterback who creates turnovers and good field position for the other team. I'm taking Washington over 31.5 adjusted points plus 190. I think Jaden Daniels and McLaurin carve up this 31st ranked scoring defense. And I think it's even worse than 31st, but there's only 32 in the league, so it can't be much worse. Texans weren't even good, and they put up 34, Brian, Monday. So no, short week for Dallas. Washington has to start winning again. They throw down the hammer, 37-16. What do you have?
What has happened to this Cowboys team? Just pathetic. But yeah, I like that, Sal, too. And it's funny, Washington hasn't really been great offensively either, but the way the Cowboys are playing, it's a good play. But I'm going to take Brian Robinson anytime touchdown at minus 135. Robinson, when he's been healthy, has been very good. He's scored a touchdown in 6 of his last 8 games, 7 touchdowns in totals. And now, Sal, the thing is that the Cowboys have given up 10 rushing touchdowns in their last 5 games. We saw what Mixon did to them last week. I really like Robinson to score here at minus 135.
All right, let's move on to Kansas City and Carolina. The Chiefs coming off a loss to the Bills, 10.5-point favorite, 43.5 on the road. Feel free to put this Chiefs pick on every 3-team teaser you can imagine. Ohio State, whatever, Washington, Commanders, it'll all work, I promise. Losing to Carolina after a loss would be otherworldly, but I'll give you a player prop just the same because taking the Chiefs is just too easy in any capacity. I know you're going to do it. You'll have sound enough reasons. I'm going Mahomes over 238.5 passing yards. He's hit this over in 7 of his last 9 against bottom 10 defenses. The Panthers are 24th in the league against the pass. He averages 261 over that span. They're mixing up the receiving core. They signed Tyquan Thornton from New England to be on their practice squad. I don't think he's going to play, but Worthy, Hopkins, Juju, Kelsey, I think they're in no effing around mode. They have to get ready. These last 6 games are going to be important. And Mahomes goes for over 250. We need 239 to cash this. What do you like?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Chiefs minus 10.5. And Sal, these big spreads with the Chiefs really scare me because you just never know what you're going to get week to week. And the Panthers have won their last 2 games, but those were against 2 bad opponents. Outside of that, they've gotten beaten up badly by teams. I feel like an idiot going with the Panthers here. And I think, can the Chiefs...
You're not.
Sometimes I'm. But can the Chiefs finally come out and just dominate a team from start to finish? When was the last time that happened? I'm not sure. But I still think, Sal, I don't think the Panthers can put up enough points here. So I think it's like a 30-10 Chiefs win. They cover the 10.5.
Don't the referees already know what the score is? If you listen to Harry enough, he's convinced that this is all scripted.
Poor Harry. Poor
yeah.
Harry.
Yeah. Poor Harry, indeed. All right, last one in the early slate. Detroit at Indianapolis. 7.5 is the spread. 50.5 is the over-under. I can't say enough about this Lions team. They just look like the most complete squad. They beat up on the bad teams. They go in the rain and they win in Green Bay. They win in Houston, a game that they had no business winning. Like, they're just there in the end, right? And then they're there in the beginning. They score. I'm not going against this freight train offense. 274 points in their last 7. That's 39 points a game. And I think the first scoring play of this game, Bri, is going to be a Lions touchdown. And I can't believe you get plus 130 for that. They don't kick so much. In the last 4 games, they have 20 touchdowns and 5 field goals. I like that percentage. Why would you go? I mean, with all these weapons like Goff, Montgomery, Gibbs, St. Brown, Jamison Williams, why would you kick on 4th and 1 or 4th and 2? The first score of the game for the Lions has been a touchdown in 7 straight. Colts are 26th against the pass, 28th against the run. I'm not sure how the coin toss is going to go or who gets the ball, but I like the Lions at plus money to score first and that score to be a touchdown. What do you have?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Lions over 29.5 points here. I think Parlay Kid last week took the over on the point total too.
Yeah.
But when this Lions team gets rolling, right, when Montgomery and Gibbs are running the ball well, they seem impossible to stop, right? And this team is clicking right now. In their last 7 games, averaging 39 points per game. And they've scored 40 or more 4 times. So, and then like you were saying, Indy's given up the 5th most passing yards on the season, or I should say 5th most total yards on the season. You give up 27 points to the Jets last week, 30 to Buffalo the week before. Detroit keeps on rolling. This is definitely a game I feel like they get into the upper 30s here. So go over 29.5 points.
I can't have enough on Detroit, I don't think. If you had to have Detroit or the field in the NFC, I don't know that FanDuel has that up yet. But Detroit or the field, which way are you going? You'd get the Eagles, obviously. I don't have to name all the teams.
I mean, I want to root for the Lions. I still feel like the Eagles and the Packers. I feel like the Packers are the one team. We saw that last year, even though the Packers got beat up at home to them.
Yeah.
We saw, right, like when it was the Thanksgiving game, when all of a sudden at Detroit, they beat them up.
That was the one.
So you never know. I feel like they're the one team, if they get things going, they could beat them.
They crushed all the money line parlays before the cranberry was even served. That was disgusting. All right, Bri, let's all quickly use the restroom and compare notes when we return. Lots more with Brother Bri. We'll break down the rest of Week 12, including the Chargers and Ravens on Monday night, as Jim and John attend a family reunion at SoFi Stadium. That's all next on Cousin Sal's Winning Weekend. All right. right, welcome back to Cousin Sal's Winning Weekend here with Brother Bry, who comes from a family of athletes. I believe your father kept a list of all the kids in your family, right? There's like 5 or 7 or 9, right? He has like athletic rankings listed in the pantry, right? Does he still have that?
Well, he definitely has some like old snippets from the newspaper articles. I know he has that. So for 1 or 2 of the siblings, they didn't get anything.
They didn't get the snippet. Yeah,
No.
the whole house is wallpapered in box scores from
Yes,
the
for sure.
late 80s, early 90s. All right, let's hit the late afternoon games. Get to your rollicking Raiders. They take on Bo Nix and the Broncos at home. The Broncos are a 6.5-point favorite, 41.5 at Las Vegas. I have to take another bad team, and it's your bad team, Bri, your beloved Raiders. Buying low on the silver and black and selling high on the Broncos here. I know Bo Nix is making some noise now in the Offensive Rookie of the Year race. The defense is playing well. I think they're 3rd overall. Sean Payton's on top of the world, but I still think 5.5 is a little bit rich. Here's an Action Network trend. 6 or more game losing streak for a team who's listed as a home dog versus a divisional opponent is 48, 32, and 5 against the spread since 1990. Antonio Pierce will screw it up late. We know that. Broncos will win, but I think 21-17. I think 5.5 is too many. What do you have?
You know, Sal, we just talked about this a few days ago when I believe you had told me the Raiders were one of the teams that you just cannot bet on. Did you not say that?
I did. I probably did.
No,
Yeah.
I think
I'm a big fat phony.
although I took the Raiders on this too, even though I believe I did. But yeah, I'm gonna go player prop here. I'm gonna take Brock Bowers anytime touchdown plus 240. I gave him out the last time, similar odds, and it hit. Right now, he is the best tight end in football. He scored in his last 2 games. He had 13 catches and 126 yards last week. And I can't believe the Raiders actually hit on a first-round pick. I think Bowers has a big game. He had a big game the last time against the Broncos. So plus 240, I think, is really good value for him to score. So.
All right, good. You got your first-round pick in there. All right, Green Bay, a 1.5-point favorite at home against San Francisco. 47.5 is the over-under. I got crushed with the 49ers last week. Had them on a bunch of money line parlays. And I actually don't think Green Bay is all the way back either. I'm definitely not impressed with them or San Francisco, who I mentioned stole money from me, blowing that lead against Seattle. I'm staying away from the side. I'm taking a player prop. Josh Jacobs, over 67.5 rushing yards. He's gone 68 or more in 4 straight. He averages 94 over that stretch. Almost a yard per carry better at home than he is on the road, Bri. I like triple digits out of Josh Jacobs on Sunday. Both need the win. JJ is a winner on the ground. Give me over 67.5. What do you have?
I'm going to take the 49ers plus 1.5. And this is, Sal, is basically a must-win, I feel like, for the 49ers, especially considering they go to Buffalo next week, still have some tough opponents. Yeah. But look, the thing with them is they just continue to falter against the NFC West opponents in the fourth quarter, right? Really bad in the fourth quarter. But while the Packers are sitting at 7-3, this is kind of what you said. I don't feel like they're back yet fully either. And it definitely does not tell the full picture because they could have lost 3, 4, 5 more games potentially in that stretch when they won, 5 of their last 6. So they're playing, I think, with a little bit of fire right now. And I think the 49ers can catch them here. I think they win this one like 23-20, Sal.
All right. I mean, the 49ers, I had to go with no to make the playoffs, even though I loved them 2 weeks ago. I really do change my mind a lot, but that team was not impressive. All right, Arizona. Now, this is weird. Arizona now a 1.5-point favorite at Seattle. As far as we can tell, there's no injuries on the Seattle side to speak of that would change this line. It was 1.5. The other, do they just flip the 1.5s? Is that just what they do? Should we just always take the teaser plus 7.5 and then wait for it to flip?
Yep.
I don't know. There's a lot going on. I thought this was way low on Sunday. I thought it should be about 4. I'm taking Seattle now, plus the 1.5. I liked what I saw in terms of grit on Sunday from them against San Francisco. They've lost 4 in a row. Are they really going to lose 5 in a row at home? Well, the odds makers think so. I think they're too good. I get Kyler and the offense is playing well, but they are 1-4. Kyler is straight up and against the spread off a bye. Seattle wins at home. Big Kenneth Walker game, 27-23. What do you like?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the player prop. I'm going to take James Conner anytime touchdown at minus 135. Conner has 5 touchdowns on the season, two in his last 3 games. But the Seahawks defense, one of the worst in the league against the run. They've given up 5 yards per carry to running backs. I just feel like the Cardinals are going to get a bunch of chances here in the red zone. So I have Conner to score here, Sal, at minus 135.
All right, the Sunday night game, Philly -2.5 and 48.5 at the Rams. I'm going to take the Rams, but I'm going to adjust it to 3. I'm going to spend a little money and buy that half a point. It costs you -120, but only if you lose. If you win there. Philly and Hurts, 25% covers on the road with extended rest, and McVay is the best coach with a rest disadvantage. Eagles tough against the pass, but I think they met their match in these Rams wideouts. Cooper Kupp has had a big play, 20 or more yards in 5 of his last 6. The Rams need this game more as they're in that NFC West dogfight. I know their offense has been clicking, but I think the Eagles just no-show Sunday night. I'm buying a half just to be safe. Rams house, Rams win 23-19.
Well, yeah, I'm going. This is one we're going to go against each other here, Sal. I'm going to take the Eagles -2.5, and I know you say the Rams house, but this is definitely going to be a home game for the Eagles, right?
Well, there's like quotation marks. Right? Yeah.
It says Rams, but and while look, I think the Eagles really haven't beaten necessarily anybody great recently, but I do think this team is starting to resemble the team from 2 years ago. Very well rounded. And the thing I like most about them is they shut down the opponent's passing games. And I think the Rams are another team to me. I don't know. They can't put together play well, I think, like for a full game here. And they too certainly could have lost a few more games here. I just think the Eagles are a much better team. I do think they get up for this game at night, and I'm going to take them -2.5.
All right, yeah, they do have trouble putting together back-to-backs, losses or wins. Baltimore -3 at the Chargers. This is Monday night. Harbaugh versus Harbaugh. Loser pays for the Thanksgiving turkey. I'm going over 50.5. 10 of the last 14 Monday Night Football games have gone over by an average of 6 points. The Ravens, after a loss this year, averaged 31 points. I still don't trust their defense, 32nd in the league against the pass. Big Herbert game, lots of offense off of the angry Ravens as well. 30-26. Give me the over, Brian. What do you like?
Yeah, and I'm going to take Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers +3 here. And look, looking for revenge against his brother. And I think while the Ravens are a little bit more desperate team, they're a flawed team defensively right now. I think you can clearly say that the Chargers right now are the more well-rounded team, the better defensive team here. So give me Chargers and the 3 points here, Sal.
All right, Brian. Great job. Thanks again, pal. We're going to be right back to wrap things up on Cousin Sal's Winning Weekend. All right, welcome back to Cousin Sal's Winning Weekend. That does it for this week. Just like in the case of Jets GM Joe Douglas, it's time to go. My thanks to Jim Nantz. That was a real honor. What a time. I feel like we should cut down the nets now. You can check out my full interview with Jim on the Ringers YouTube page. Thanks to Brother Bry for giving us all those Week 12 winners. Trust me, you'd much rather him give out NFL picks than TV recommendations. And most importantly, thanks to all of you for watching and listening. And please always remember, you may feel like an underdog, but just know you're all my favorites. Happy handicapping!